Today is Tuesday, November 19th, 2013. So today I went to my lab band appointment for that acid reflux that I was having. I arrived there on schedule, and I actually got into the office really easily, into the to the room where they send you or whatever. And so I wait there for a little bit, and this nurse comes in, and I had never seen her before. She was new, and but she seemed like she knew what she was talking about, so I was like comfortable with her-ish, but not really, because she seemed a little bit arrogant. I'm not sure what her deal was. She said a couple of things that really pissed me off, but she did point something out that was very, very like, oh, you know, the light bulb turned on or whatever. I usually, whenever I've had dilations a couple times just this year, and every time I'm dilated, everything is taken out. Half of it is put back in the next week. So like I've said, I've never been past like 4.5. So usually whenever I come back, they only, maybe not halfway, but they put me up to 1.5 or so. And then I go back and they put one whole cc in it, so I'm up to 2.5. Sometimes I don't go back, but then I go back again, and they put another whole cc in there because they're trying to bring me back up to where I was. And once that happens, once I'm given like a whole cc, I dilate again. And I didn't really notice this pattern, and I really just blamed myself for not eating properly and taking big bites or whatever. And yeah, probably that was one of the factors in it. But looking back on my history, I was never filled one whole cc at a time, ever. At my surgery day, I had a cc put in during surgery, but afterwards it was taken out like immediately after post-surgery. So every time I've had an adjustment, it was always like 0.3, 0.5. And I always thought that was weird and kind of unfair, because sometimes I would see other YouTubers talking about their adjustments, and they had a whole cc in there, and I was like, that's not fair. They're gonna lose weight faster than me. They have more restriction, when that's not always the case. And it was kind of, I felt kind of a relief from knowing that and recognizing that pattern. Anyway, so before she had pointed that out, she made an ass of herself. She was like, oh, what's your history? And then I said like 2 sentences, and she was like, oh, I guess I could probably read it from your file, right? And I'm like, yeah, bitch, yes. You could have read it on my file if you would have taken like 5 minutes to read it, possibly. And then she said, well, do you want an adjustment? Are you ready for an adjustment? And I said, yes, that's yes. And she was like, oh, I see that you're experiencing reflux. Yes, that's why I'm here. I'm here because I'm having acid reflux. And she's like, okay, let's do a barium swallow. So we did a barium swallow, and immediately when I saw it, I knew that I had a dilation again. If you're familiar with the barium swallows, your band is usually sitting at an angle, and you have like a tiny little opening like this. I've had dilations before, and this was definitely the worst one. Usually I get a dilation that's a wider U shape, like my esophagus has enlarged a little, but this time it was a little bit curved on one side. So on this side it was straight, and on the other side it had ballooned. So it was kind of like a shape of a garlic clove, I would say. And I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. And so we go back to the room, and she asked me what size needle I use, and I said the longer needle, and the longer needle usually goes in all the way. She's like, are you sure? I'm pretty confident I could do it with a smaller needle. And I was like, okay. You know, you expect the nurse to be more of an expert than you are. Maybe she was a better nurse. Like, maybe she didn't need a large needle. You know, she's supposed to be the expert, so I trusted her. So she, you know, put the needle, she numbed me first, which I was like, cool, numbing, that's fine. So if she fucks up, I'm numb, so it's okay. So she, you know, puts it in. She doesn't find my port, obviously. I apparently have like scar tissue on top of my port. That's pretty deep. And it's kind of hard for people to gauge how far down my band is, my port is. So she's like moving it around. After a couple of minutes, she was like moving it like this, like around, trying to like fish for my port. And then I could feel the needle rubbing on some part that it was not supposed to be rubbing, and it was very painful. Then finally she gave up and was like, oh, you're right. I was supposed to use a longer needle. Well, yeah, we could have avoided all of this if you would have just listened to me to begin with. So then she grabs a longer needle and she numbs me again. And I was like, okay, cool. She will numb me again, so I'm going to be all right. So she sticks the big needle in. And this time it felt even worse. I felt like she was stabbing me. That's what it felt like. I mean, I've never been stabbed, but I would imagine that that's some sort of stabbing feeling. It felt like she was stabbing another place that wasn't my band, like possibly my stomach or something. It felt bad. And after a couple minutes of that, like, I just like, you're in that crunch or whatever. And then I just like fell back. Like, I couldn't take it anymore. And so she was like, well, let's go to the x-ray to see where your port is. And at this point, I was like sick of her. I wanted her to leave. I wanted somebody else. And that there's the barium or x-ray tech, Danny, was there. And it kind of seemed like he was coaching her through it when, he's not, the person that does that. I mean, he's worked there forever. I mean, he's worked there since I've had the band. Mm-hmm. He even helped me whenever I had that first unfill after surgery. He helped me up. I was 300 pounds, and he's kind of hot. But anyway, he, bust out the x-ray machine and marked me. And so he marked me. She put the needle back in. She couldn't find it. And then she's like, oh, Danny, do another x-ray. Maybe tell me where I'm at. And then he was like, okay. So they took another x-ray and another x-ray and another x-ray. And he was like coaching her, oh, just, move it towards the feet, a little. And it made me feel really uncomfortable. Because at that point she had taken the expert hat off and was just a fucking fool. It just makes me feel like if that was my first fill, I would have been terrified of my second fill, and I would have been so regretful. I would have had so much regret for having a lap band. That experience was just terrible. So finally, it's done, and I'm about to go, but I know that I'm supposed to have another barium swallow after my unfill. And, I'm I'm not moving because I'm waiting for her instruction. But she's like, yeah, you can come back in a week. And then Danny's like, oh, wait, aren't you going to do a barium swallow to recheck? And then she's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do one. And so we do another one. It looks fine. I'm on my way out. And I'm talking to the person that does the appointments. And then she comes over and she's like, oh, it looks so great now. Come back in a week. And like, no, it was like she was trying to save all the shit that she had put me through. And then she had also been super rude. While she was trying to take some liquid out, she was like, are you exercising? I said, no. Then she asked me, why? And I said, I don't know. I mean, like, it was a simple answer. It wasn't like, I didn't say it with attitude. I was just like, I don't know. Like, maybe she took it that way. I'm not sure. But then she said, oh, okay. I'm like, that. Even if I had given you some sort of attitude, I don't think that a professional should have acted that way towards me. So, to finish this off, I have been unfilled. I have 0 in my band, and I am on a liquid diet once again. And I have to go back next week, and hopefully all goes well. All right, bye.